Welcome everyone. Today we have a Dota Underlords guide. In this guide, we'll be looking at tips and tricks to help gameplay, informative explanations for a few crucial things. Let's look at the core concept here. The core concept for this guide is that most small things compound up and they can have a better flag effect in the mid game to late game. For the gold, if you get 1 gold this round, you have 1 less gold to find to the next set of gold, and this keeps compounding. If we aim to improve our controls, details and mechanics, we're more relaxed when we play the game, we're more confident in the game, and this is when we have a better game result. We can have a spark of genius, we make a move, make a combination, or we have more joy in the game as a result of it. Let's start the guide with how damage is dealt to a player. Each surviving enemy will deal damage to us, but those damage are scaled with every 10 rounds. The damage calculation is that 1 damage for each star of the opponent units that is still left alive. Additionally, plus 1 damage for every 10 rounds that have been played. For example, a 1-star Tinker will deal 1 damage before round 10 and 2 damage after round 10, 3 damage after round 20, and this goes up. This is for a 1-star unit, and for a 2-star unit, it is 1 damage higher. Now, we know that summoned units does not do damage except for the Longdrill Bear and also for the Arc Warden images. But there is a purple item, which is the Vicious Intent, which adds 1 damage to all the surviving units. So it's basically taking the enemy's health loss into 1 round earlier. And this also includes the summon units. All the summons like Wolves, Little Treants, and the Venomous Awards as well. In terms of effective HP, we can picture this as if our HP inflates, so the value of HP actually reduces as we go into the late game. It will cost more to pay for a loss. For example, in terms of effective HP reduction to numbers, the HP we start with 100% is 100% at the start, but as the round goes further, it's as if it's shrinking in terms of value, because each time you lose in the later game, you're losing more. This is just a general concept. The scaling here is just for the understanding with numbers. They are not correct values, so if you guys know the correct ones, definitely let me know as well how they scale. Knowing that we lose less in the early games and we lose more as the round goes further, and we also know that the win and losing streaks are going to be fixed. They do not scale with the rounds. So we can see that if we were to lose, it is better to lose early game because the cost of HP is lower than to lose late game and suffer massive loss even when there's only 1 to 2 enemy. In the early game, you might lose to 4 or 5 enemies, still lose 5 to 10 HP. In the late game, you might be just losing to 2 enemies and losing up to 9 or 7 HP. I tend to save up early for this reason, starting before round 10, and I do start spending after round 20 in order to suffer minimal loss. So notice we're timing the saving and spending windows depending on as we go later into the rounds, which do help with minimizing HP loss. There is more incentive to spend our saving in the mid to late game because every gold spend is going to protect us from a painful HP loss, because as we get into the late game, especially round 30 and plus, even if we keep more gold, we still earn the same amount of interest, 5 interest for 50 gold, but each gold spent here would reduce the loss as we found 2-star, 3-star, or even open up our board for another unit. Sometimes the game favors AoE mid-game teams like mage teams. There's a reason behind it, because those tend to wipe a good number of enemy and lead us to a win or a minimal loss. Because in the mid-game, as the scaling of the cost of HP loss goes up, most players are not prepared. Mages can easily wipe enemy team and do massive HP loss, or they can minimize their own loss. This whole system with HP loss that scales upwards actually favors the mage lineup, which tends to perform a little higher than other builds. That's why I was running mages with warlocks as well. Let's have a look at the mindset we can have to the 3 stages of the game. There are 3 stages of the game. The first stage is the early game, then it's the mid game, then it's the late game. In the early rounds, knowing that we lose less HP, we can start saving and go for economy. We will aim for win streak if possible. When we are lucky enough with 2-star units, it is the highest earning of gold, which comes from the victory plus 1 gold. Also, there's plus gold for the win streaks. We keep a balance of investment into protecting win streak versus the cost of the current saving if we lost the win streak. What do I mean by that? If you're on 20 gold, to protect the win streak, we can level up, we can roll for units. But keep in mind, if you're trying to spend gold to protect a win streak, one thing is that you might still lose. Second thing is, the new win streak will cap out at 8 win streak. So even if you're in the middle of the time you want to protect win streak, it might not be that worth it unless it's a very minimum gain, say spending 10 gold to get to a level up and put down its unit, which improves the synergy or alliance. Or maybe you have a 2-star on the bench you want to add to it. Or maybe if you have multiple pairs, you want to roll for those pairs. As for losing streak, aim to keep only core units. This is because in the losing streak stage, if you keep too many units that you consider you're not sure, then what's going to happen is you're not running a proper losing streak, you're also losing HP. So on both ends you're suffering. So rather we lose a little more HP or we lose a little potential, but we'll keep only the core units. It is important to reduce HP loss with losing streak with early game cheap alliance, which don't require many units. Say 3 scrappies, 3 warriors are very strong, 2 polynomials, 2 brownies and 2 harlots can be great as a secondary backline. If I was going for mages with losing streak, I'm sure some of you have seen the guide with mage and warlock, I tend to only keep Razor and Shadowfiend before round 9. I'm keeping those two and also the units that helps my bench to become 2-star. Other than that, everything can be sold for gold, even the Crystal Maiden. It will backfire if we don't find enough Crystal Maiden, but sometimes it's so important to find the gold. Sometimes I do keep Crystal Maiden at level 9 or level 8 if I know that I don't need to sell her for the gold. I'll have her as the last unit to be sold. Because Crystal Maiden, Razor and Shadowfiend are the core units for mages. Similarly, the core units for knights can be Omni Knight, Abaddon, and the 3 cost and 2 cost knights, Chaos Knight and Luna. Those can be used. Sometimes if I have a 2-star Chaos Knight, I have a Chaos Knight on the bench. If I'm short on gold, I'll still be willing to sell him if I'm desperate for gold. A general rule of thumb for protecting the win streak is that we aim to start a win streak early, because most players are likely to be a little weaker during early rounds and they're likely to save up as they go into round 10. So if we started a win streak around round 10 or before that, we can curve into a further win streak if we are spent a little bit and invest in protecting win streak. Because they tend to save up after round 10, and if we kind of off times this win streak saving, we can have a win streak while we save up. The investment of gold into the win streak should favor leveling over rolling for most cases, unless we're rolling for 2-star units and we have multiple pairs. I know 5 pairs is excessive, sometimes 4 pairs or 3 pairs I might be rolling for them if they're crucial, but I never roll over 10 gold. Because I consider the investment, if I roll, I don't find anything, I'll be in trouble. But leveling, the gold is not wasted, but rather it increases the rate of units I want to find. There is one time I won't be rolling, I won't be leveling. Oh, there will be one time when there will be times where I won't be leveling because my entire bench is made up of pairs of 1 cost and 2 cost units. If I level it up, I actually lose rates of finding those units. So that's the time I might be rolling 2 or 4 gold just to get lucky with a pair to protect the win streak. I rarely spend a lot on rolling in the early stage because I favor the later stage purple and legendary units. Because a 2 gold spend here can become 2 gold spend at level 9 and level 10, which gives more value while we're rolling. We spend 10 to 20 gold max while protecting win streak for a 1 to 2 win streak, because win streak do stop at 8 win streak, and after that we have to build up win streak again. It's not that before we can enjoy an infinite win streak as long as we're stronger, and because of that you don't want to invest too much gold into a win streak protection. Yes, here, the win streak resets, so look for more incentives when we're actually spending for a win streak. You want to have double incentives, at least triple incentives sometimes. Maybe one of the incentives is I need higher rate for Conquer or Medusa, another incentive is I need to add another 2-star on the board, another incentive is I unlock warriors and heartless because I have a patch on the board. So you want multiple incentives. Let's look at the mid game. The mid round starts about round 13 to 25. There's 2 things we need to consider: deciding our lineup and start spending properly. This is very important because this is the stage that decides the pathway we want to take. If we take the wrong pathway, it's likely we're going to have trouble in the late game. If we don't spend correctly, it's likely we suffer too much HP loss. So let's look at a lineup first into two parts. We can break the lineup into the core lineup and the branch lineup. The knights plus dragons, here the knights are the core, while the dragons are what were branched into the knights, into the dragons. The branch can also be the chores for the knights. Also, we can have knights with mages, knights with hunters, and while the core can stay fixed. This is because if we plan to go into 4 or 6 knights, we can branch into other things. The transition for our build should be within the core, while the branch can shift. If we're not finding our chores, we're going to dragons. If we're not finding our dragons, maybe we're going with mages, or maybe hunters. So we want to keep the core as it is. To determine which is a branch or which is the core of the build, look into the number of 2-stars we have most for our alliance. Other times, we already have a few units ready, say we have 2-star warriors ready, but the 2-star warriors will have the front line for us, say 3 warriors. It's not needed to go into 6 warriors as a core. We can use 3 warriors for the front line, 3 or 6 hunters in the backline, or maybe you can even go into mages. Each build do varied, but it's key for us to determine which one's the branch, which one's the core at the start. This is how we can decide our build after. We want to avoid a full commitment to an early game build. This early game build is especially with 4 druids. Those are great because there's so much healing, good summons, and everything just gets so much of a power spike. But after round 25, they do fall off. So we want to plan for a transition. For the druids, reduce 4 druids to 2 druids. For the 2 druids, maybe consider making one of the druids into a 3-star, keep one at 2-star. Ideally, you want a 3-star train protector and a 2-star lone druid, or maybe a 3-star enchantress with a 2-star train protector. To plan for this, look into our existing and potential alliance. We want to consider the various tier 4 units we can pick up once we're into the mid to late game. Which one can enhance our lineup? If our lineup needs magic damage, or if we have mages, Gyrocopter is very nice. Techies should do physical damage, so that's why Alchemist, Heartless definitely helps techies. The Tidehunter can add to the existing warrior lineup with a Slardar and give AoE stuns, or he can add to the hunter lineup with Medusa. Conquer can be a good all-rounder. He can give us humans and stuns. The key is to look into the potential alliance we can build into while considering the legendaries or the purple units that come along the way. And they are the most impactful ones once they are found at 2-star. The general spending timing over here, most people tend to get to level 7 around 17, and they also reach level 8 around 21. Because we know most players do this subconsciously, what we can do is we can try to capitalize on this knowledge. For my Mage Warlock build, is that I skip the mid part of Mage build, which tend to stay on level 8 around 21 to 25. I go to level 9 directly for higher rates, which is pretty much open all the higher rates for myself, and I'll be rolling for the purple and legendary units. This also protects HP, as we know. After round 20, we tend to lose more HP during those rounds. We're punishing others, getting higher rates, and also we're protecting our own HP. The downside, of course, is we want to balance spending and saving. If our lineup is strong, we stop spending a little bit. If our lineup is still very weak, we spend more gold. There is also a different type of build that can enjoy this. If I'm going for a build that requires not too many 3-stars, but requires late game units, say a 2-star Lich, 2-star Tide, or maybe a 2-star Doombreaker, or Doombringer. For those kind of builds, we can consider those that are timing for other players. We can even stay on level 7 for assassins around 21, because we know most players will be level 8. So it's adjustment to know what other people are likely going to do and how would this benefit us. We can keep spending to reroll after leveling up. It's very important that we do this because RNG is a big factor in the game. If we have enough saving from the early game, we should be spending to find our 2-star units and not wait for them to appear for the free roll. We get one free roll at the start of each time, but if we know that the later we go into the game, more important HP is, more important not to lose is, we should be rolling with our gold instead of trying to get lucky with units. I tend to use HP at current rounds as an indicator how much to spend and when should I be spending. For HP greater than 50%, we can roll down to 50 to 40 gold each of the rounds. That means, let's say this round I have 50 gold I can spend my gold up to 40, but if I find a crucial unit, I'm happy to break the 40 down to 30ish. But next round, I save back up to 40, and I roll down to 40 again. Spending down to 40 gold only costs 1 gold of saving, so each round you get 1 less interest gold. This is acceptable because if you find a key upgrade, it's much better to lose less HP or punish other players while trying to save up for 1 spare gold. For HP over 35%, so just above 35%, this is when we'll actually start to roll down a little aggressively. We can roll down to 30 to 20 gold. Here we're 1 loss away from going all in. What do I mean by that is, we pretty much have 2 loss in us. We lose from 35 to 20, then we lose from 20 to pretty much 5 or 1, then we're pretty much gone. So we want to kind of prevent this loss before we get into the desperate position of 1 loss is our last loss. Sometimes we can lose up to 10 or 15 HP, so 2 loss could be our last as well. So prevention is better than wishing we had more HP before that. Because after losing, you have to spend your gold anyways, right? So better to spend a little early, down to 30 or 20. When our HP is below 20%, I'll go all in with the gold. I'll roll down to 10 or 0 gold. Each loss could be our last, and of course we don't want to have gold that's left unspent, and also maybe you're just missing a crucial upgrade. When I say rolling down, we can also be leveling up. So keep that in mind. We can either roll or we can leveling up. If we have plenty of 2 stars, it's better to level up because that's the best way to add power to the team. Other times, if you have too many 1 stars, it's better to roll for the units. As an indicator of round, by round 31 and plus, I know I'll be losing so much HP if I lose to any of the rounds, so I'll be spending down to 30 gold even if my HP is above 30%, because those costs of loss are so much more expensive. For the late game rounds, I usually define late game as round 26 plus or round 31 plus. Here, for the sake of being more defensive, we define it as round 26 plus. There's 2 things to focus on. One is teamfight potential, the other one is positioning. Stuns, items, and adjustments to placement is going to be crucial. Excuse me. Stuns, items, and adjustments to unit positionings after each time we lose or to adjust to counter the enemy is going to be crucial for the late game. Over here, teamfight is a big factor because our lines or units that buff our team or debuff the enemy can be crucial. Here we have stun as one of the strongest debuff. We immobilize the enemy, he's not attacking with auto attacks, he's not casting spells. After that, we consider silence to be higher than other things because spells tend to be stronger than normal attacks in the late game. We also consider stow in terms of attack speed and movement speed to be very nice. This is why Gyrocopter and Lich are top picks, because not only they do massive damage, they also slow attack speed and movement speed. Disarm and armor reduction and reduction to damage can be nice, but they're not the most relevant, because sometimes when you reduce enemy armor, he might be casting faster because he gains mana faster from receiving damage. Even if you reduce enemy damage or disarm them, they can still cast a spell. We do have the tier list which reflects on this decision making for the units, alliance, and items, so definitely check it out, and I'll be updating that for us after the next patch. For the late game, it's like the Wild West Cowboys. It's whoever shoots first wins, or whoever casts faster is likely going to secure the round. We'll explain how mana works in detail with how mana are gained in the next guide, because it's quite a bit to touch on and it might be 2 side paths for this guide. But now let's remember that we gain mana from attacking enemy, also receiving damage from the enemy. Range units or casters tend to get mana from attacks instead of receiving damage. This is because they have low armor than most front lines, they have low HP to pool at 2 star. They stay in the backline, also give them a chance to cast multiple times. A good example here is the power of Lich. Lich has 8-second CD with the Chain Frost, can be casting again for multiple damage and slows everyone. Of course, I made a little joke here with the exception for Disruptor. Disruptor from Warcraft 3 is Thor. He's the leader of the Horde, the Lord of Silence with this current patch. He also blinds enemies. He is a pretty high tier warlock. He's also a brownie. He goes in the front line because he casts instantly. We want to be casting instantly, so we deny the enemy casters like Tidehunter, Conquer, or Medusa from casting. The round is usually won after Disruptor cast, a Tidehunter, Medusa, or Conquer follows up. And while the enemy is stunned, they can't do damage to us, they can't cast anything. Melee units gains most mana from receiving damage, because melee units tends to have slower attack speed. While doing so, melee units have high HP pool. The exception here is when we place melee units in the backline to defend against assassins. Usually we'll place melee units that needs to get mana fast in the front line. This can be, I'll be showing this very soon down here. So I want to balance a few things here while considering where to place units. I'm calling the stunners initiators because they are usually placed in the front line, and we want to consider two things. Are they going to be casting fast enough, or are they going to die before they cast? So if I have a strong frontline unit, I want no other units to be stealing the damage they receive, because receiving damage means getting mana faster. But if my unit is not strong enough, say I one-star Tidehunter, he might be dying before he casts his Ravage, and that's not what I wanted. So here are two placements of formation. The first formation will be showing how to be protecting our 1-star initiators. During this point, the 1-star initiator do not have enough HP pool or no items to help them survive. While this is happening, we want them to be in the middle of the pack. We want other units, maybe an Axe, maybe a Tusk, maybe a 2-star Conquer, to be on the side. This reduces the chance of being flanked from the side, so Axe will take all the instance of damage from the left, while Tusk will take from the right. The middle ones will only receive frontal damage or maybe the damage from the backline. This gives them the highest chance of surviving while receiving damage and casting a little faster. So this is the first picture. We'll have 1-star Tide, 1-star Disruptor, plus the 2-star Axe and the 2-star Tusk. Usually in the later stage of the game, we tend to find initiators into 2-star. Here we want to split them for the maximum mana gain. Notice that Conquer, Tide, Disruptor, and Tiny are split in different ways. I feel that Tiny is a little weaker in the later stage of the game. If we still have one, he can work, but the crucial one is Tide and Disruptor. Disruptor will likely to receive a lot of damage. Since his cast is instant, it's likely he casts before he dies. If we also have Warlock, he can even tank up a little bit. Tide is in the center for most coverage of his spells, while Conquer is on the side, because not only he's tanky, he usually survives after his cast for a few more seconds. Yes, here all the units are 2-star. The 2 or the 4 great AoE disablers in the game. I feel that those tend to be quick disablers. Other than Conquer, the other 3 is almost instant. After that, Medusa is also nice. After that, we can look for units that slows enemy, that units that disarms an enemy as well. So Gyrocopter, Lich are top picks as well. Here we didn't touch too deeply on the item choices for the late game. So what I want to suggest is to check out my late game item tier list choices for the tier 4 and tier 5 items, which will be focusing on items that helps with the team fight, whether it's to deny the enemy from casting or helping us with buffs and giving enemy debuffs like Shiva's Guard and Assault Cuirass. We'll be looking to gold management, mana gain, and other tips and tricks in the next time. I want to add more this time, but unfortunately I realized it's getting longer as a guide, so I want to keep guide in a moderate size for people to read. So let me know if you guys have any parts you want me to cover on in the future guides, in the comments below, in the video, or in the Reddit guide. To summarize this guide, I want to highlight the reason behind my defensive or aggressive spending is because as we go into the later stage of the game, the damage is increased, so we tend to spend more gold, because gold is fixed while the damage we take is increased. After that, what I want to highlight is the 3 concepts I have with early, mid-game, and late game. It's those concepts that helps me have a somewhat of a solid game while we adjust according to the units and RNG that is provided by the game to us. So thank you so much everyone for watching this particular guide. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please also subscribe on my YouTube channel for more future guides, raid plays, and builds for Dota Underlords and Dota Auto Chess. Please follow and subscribe to support me on Twitch as well. Thank you everyone.